We'd like to expose you to the truth. Your muscles are more complex than your gym has led you to believe. So please, turn on, tune in, drop out, as we run you through the finicky process of muscle contractions. Muscles are subject to the all or none rule. They have thresholds, much like your parents. A muscle will only contract when the nerve stimulation is above the required threshold. If it does not reach the threshold, the muscle cannot contract. In order to partially contract a muscle, a nerve stimulates muscle fibers with the appropriate thresholds. An example of different muscle fibers are slow oxidative and fast oxidative. Slow oxidative muscle fibers almost never fatigue but are slow to contract. Fast oxidative muscle fibers are intermediate in speed and do fatigue. These are just a few examples. The muscle fibers are more complicated than this. A low threshold is excited by a small stimulus. However, a large stimulus excites the fibers with both low and high thresholds. This is called a graded response. And the amount of nerves firing also plays a role in how the muscles contract. As more nerves fire, more fibers are contracted, producing a stronger contraction.
During this process, a nerve impulse excites a muscle. Now, my sincere apologies for the rudimentary pointer, but stick with us for a while. After this excitation, the exocytosis of the neurotransmitter occurs. Neurotransmitter diffuses across the cell membrane. A neurotransmitter binds the receptors and opens the sodium gates. This causes excitement of the cell membrane and transverse tubules. Transverse tubules, or T-tubules, are narrow tubes that extend deep into the sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasmic reticulum will depolarize. This is also called excitation of a cell. This is how the cell controls calcium. Sarcoplasmic reticulum is similar to endoplasmic reticulum, but it is in the muscle cell. It has active calcium pumps that sequester calcium in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Calcium controls our muscle contraction. Sarcoplasmic reticulum controls the calcium.
After depolarization occurs, calcium gates will open and diffuse from the sarcoplasmic reticulum to myofibrils. This is due to the high concentration of calcium inside the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Calcium will then bind to troponin, a molecule. Troponin then releases tropomyosin, another molecule that covers up binding sites. Tropomyosin moves to expose or uncover the active binding sites. In a cycle where myosin binds to actin, this forms the cross bridges. Myosin heads pivot. This is the movement that is the basis of a muscle contraction. ATP energy is used up. Pivoting requires energy. After myosin heads pivot, they must bind with another ATP to let go. It's not broken down at this point, and it must be present for the cross bridges to break. Myosin heads release, new ATP energy is required. Myosin heads then extend.
As long as there's enough ATP and calcium, this will keep happening. Myosin binds to actin, myosin heads pivot, myosin heads release, myosin heads extend. If you run out of ATP, the myosin heads cannot release, and the muscle cannot relax because the cross bridge is blocked. This is what causes a muscle cramp. And just as running out of ATP will cause a muscle cramp, running out of time has caused us to end this presentation.